my name is Ariel Williams, and I'm currently studying cosmetology. On today's episode of the Student Takeover, we're currently talking to Miss Maisonet from the cosmetology department. How are you doing, Miss Maisonet?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks
How
for.
are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And so I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
So before we start, I want to go ahead and thank you for your time for coming to talk to the students.
Okay.
All right. So what made you get into the cosmetology field?
I started off with my own hair. Yeah, it's coming from a family of 5 kids. Priority of hair wasn't important in our household. So I started as a preteen doing my own hair. And I was pretty good at it naturally. So that's what took off. Like hair found me. I didn't have to find it.
I think many young women and men can relate to that. Just want to find your own style, and hair does that for us. So, doing my own hair is what got me into cosmetology as well. So, what educational aspects did you take to get here?
Well, first, I was a master cosmetologist. I didn't come to ATC. Back then, ATC had a 2-year waiting list, and I just wasn't going to wait that long. So I went to a private school and got my master cosmetology license, started my career. Then in 2017, I went back and got my instructor's license. And what people don't know is you don't have to wait that long. Only being in the field 1 year, you can go and pursue instructor's license. But I did that, and then I am also a continuing education provider for the Georgia State Board of Cosmetology and Barbers.
Okay, so it sounds like you know both the student and the educator or the professor side of things, correct?
hmm
So, what advice would you give to students?
Well, if they want to go that same role, I would think that the sooner the better. Go ahead and get familiar with the book part of it because a lot of times getting in the industry, you kind of lose all of that. You don't really use it every day in the salon. But if you stay in the education realm, then it's going to lead you to this. It's I've been here for 4 years and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's exactly what I was doing in my own business.
Okay, and so as a professor,
hmm
I just want to look into that aspect. So, me being a student, do you find book work or hands-on a better experience for your students?
Oh, I'm definitely a hands-on, more hands-on approach instructor. It's because of my background, 30 years in the industry, and I pretty much had to teach myself the book again when I went back to school as an instructor. So I hadn't picked up that book in a long time. A lot has changed. There's a lot of stuff that we had on the test that y'all don't have on the test. Like all of that matters because if you can't relay it to someone else, that's what instructing is. That's what education is. I can teach anything. I just have to have the information in front of me.
And that you can, being a student of yours, definitely learning the book work and then doing hands-on definitely helped me retain the information. So, thank you for that. What advice would you give a student who just on their day-to-day free time, what should they do to better educate themselves?
What I see today is a lot of people when they decide to go into this career path, they're all over the place. Like get a subject and perfect it. I think that's what I have a saying of you chase two rabbits, you catch none. Because if you're all over the place, scattered with technology, Instagram, and all of these new gimmicks that they're coming up with, where's your real focus? So a lot of times I see where the students are not focusing on the craft. Once you master one subject, then move to the other one. But don't start off as this person that does everything because you'll perfect none.
So that leads to my next question. So I'm a student, freshly graduated, and I want to enter the field. What aspect of the salon do you suggest me to enter into first? Whether it be shampoo tech, going straight to the stylist, like what do you advise the student to do?
I think that you really need to see what your clientele says. So a lot of times it's not because if you're not making the money, especially after you're in school, you should be on that path of making your money, structuring your business. Doing hair is not a business. It's when you start making your money that's the business. So you might want to do all of this stuff you see on Instagram, but if you don't have not one client, then you're doing nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember you saying that you was a salon owner for about 30 years. Am I correct?
No, I was in the field 30. I was a
30.
salon owner 18.
Okay, 18. So for a student that wants to open their own salon, what steps would you tell them or suggest them to do?
Build the clientele first.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes,
Build the
ma'am.
clientele first, because before I even got a salon, I never even intended on having a salon. It was because of my atmosphere that I got the salon. I wanted a very, very nice atmosphere for my clients. I had more clients than anybody always, wherever I went. So that product right there, I can give it, but then if it's somebody else's salon, it's not as clean. It might have roaches. Like, it can have a bunch of stuff that you don't agree with. That's why I opened the salon.
Okay.
But no, I was fine just showing up for work, making my money and going home.
We like to get that bag, don't we? Okay, so what are some of the challenging obstacles that you faced during, being in the cosmetology field?
Well, I would say people, it's people are just not the same, and you got to give them room to be who they are. And I think as a leader, you have to have that personality that's able to say, okay, well, today, you know what? She's having a bad day. He's having a bad day. A lot of times my principles in business were certain principles. If it was an issue, that was not to be discussed on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So a lot of that is just knowing, for me, wearing other hats. If I'm a stylist first, then I already know how that works with you. But a lot of people that's owners are not stylists. They're not barbers. They just own a business and want that money. But they don't realize from Thursday to Saturday is your busiest days. Like, that's where you get all of your clients coming in. You focus on, it's not a time to talk about business stuff. You could wait till Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. So that worked. Like, that worked real good. And it took time to learn that. Yeah, it took time. I mean, some things can't wait. It's emergency. But for the most part, if you got the balance of wearing your hats, that's something that I wish I had known before I became an owner. I had to actually learn it. Nobody gave me the advice I'm giving you.
And that's really good gems right there. And since knowing before, I was in the field of the 9 to 5 day-to-day shift, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was always scared of how I'm going to make that money and how I'm going to pay my bills. I do have a child, so how does that work? So you being an entrepreneur, what pushed you, what gave you that drive to just say, you know what, I can do this?
I didn't really have the story of a lot of people. My person, anybody that knows me, I'm a magnet. I'm a people magnet. So I never really had a problem of not having clientele. I can go to the beauty supply and somebody asks me about my hair, and I'm like, I did it. I work right there. Like, they call it a hustler, but I've always attracted people, period. So from day one.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
day one. Yeah.
And so, with all that being said, is there anything else you want to kind of share that I
Well,
haven't asked?
today I think is challenging for most young adults with the distractions and what I've seen to see, what I've noticed more lately. I've been at ATC for 4 years. I've noticed that the technology makes people introverts. This is a
That's true.
career that's not gonna be allowed. You're not. It's like I said, you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to land a deal. So if you're not talking, that's you against yourself. So practice that. Maybe you need to practice that. Come out that shell. But today, that's what I'm seeing more than anything. So that's what I do in the classroom. Like, I take the quietest person and bring them on out because I want to see what you got.
Yes.
Come on, I'm gonna show you it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since we're bringing it out, and you did mention about clientele, you want to make sure you focus on your niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what advice would you give a person that is freshly out of school or just even in school, because you can do it while you're in school?
Mm-hmm.
What marketing points do you have for that student?
I mean, well, for y'all, it's totally different. Like, social media is it. There's no cut to it. You got to be on there to attract whoever you're gonna attract. So I would say get the niche, get your training together. I wouldn't say go and take these classes like I'm seeing. Some of these people are not even licensed that y'all going to get classes from. Like, be serious about your craft. I never forget when I was 18 years old, I was doing people's hair in my mama kitchen. She stopped that. She was always about her standards. She was just like, hey, that's not what you're going to do. You can go to school or something, but these people not going to be in my kitchen. That's not who you're going to be. Figure it out. That's what I'm pouring into y'all because it's a standard. It's always got to be a standard. Or else you just quita in the kitchen.
I like that
Straight up, the
analogy.
banks don't acknowledge quita in the kitchen.
So, what advice would you leave with the students? So, your students about to graduate, me being one. I was your baby at first, and now I'm sprouting up, and I just want to thank you for that. So,
You're
what
welcome.
advice would you give me, a student about to graduate?
Well, I think that one of the things is look at what's ahead of you and take it easy. You got time. Even though I say push it, but make sure you don't trip. Make sure you run it by somebody if you're not sure. Make sure that you don't trip because every setback is exactly that, a setback. So you want to make sure if you have an opportunity, run it by somebody. Don't be scared. Everybody ain't going to be against you. For every one against you is 10 for you. So you got to remember that.
And I think also as a student, getting closer to that finish line, we get nervous and we get antsy. And I think for me, when I finish, I want to make sure that I can at least have somebody else to talk to. So I'm not sure if other students out there like that, but if we stumble upon any problems, can we always come back to ATC?
Always. Yeah, always. That's part of it. Yeah, it's no different. Like I own the salon for 18 years and still talk to them same ones. Most of the people that came through they have their own businesses.
Sounds so much more
Yeah.
welcoming and
Yeah.
ready
So
to
that's just
hit
part of
hard.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Maisonet, for spending time with the Student Takeover Edition.
No problem.
As we come to the end of another episode, we want to thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time with us for the Student Takeover Edition. We hope that you found this episode informative, thought-provoking, and entertaining. If you enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so that you can be notified about future episodes. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for topics you would like for us to cover, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners and are always looking for ways to improve our growth. Until next time, continue to stay strong so that you can finish strong.